Looking for an all-in-one home gym solution? The M1 Smith Machine and Power Rack by RitFit Sports might be just what you've been searching for. Be sure to stay tuned today as we do an in-depth review of this heavy-duty, highly versatile, and multifunctional rack. You can find a link to the product in the description below. I hope you find the review helpful. What's up, guys? Enkiri here, and I recently received an awesome new equipment package from RitFit Sports, led by their top-of-the-line M1 multifunctional Smith Machine and Power Rack, as well as a really heavy-duty adjustable weight bench, some high-quality bumper plates, and a nice new barbell as well. And I've really been enjoying the equipment so far. It's only been a few weeks that I've had it, but I've already put some big work in on it. And today I want to review all of it and let you guys know what I think of it so far. And if you find equipment reviews like this helpful, or you just enjoy hearing me talk about different types of home gym strength training equipment, then please remember to smash the like button before you go. Leave me a friendly comment down below for the algo as well, and let's jump into it. Kicking off briefly with the assembly process of the M1 multifunctional Smith machine. Overall, it went pretty smoothly. Now, it was a little bit time consuming. I think it took me about 6 hours in total from unboxing to finished assembly of the rack, but the rack does a whole lot of different things. So there's just a whole lot of different pieces there, a lot of bolts that need to be secured, and obviously that's going to end up being a time-consuming process. But overall, the process itself was pretty smooth. I don't recall really running into any sizable hiccups, even in doing a two-man assembly job as a solo endeavor. Now, my only real complaint is that a couple of steps in the instruction manual weren't 100% clear, at least for me, on exactly how to position certain pieces or to put certain parts together. So just making the instruction manual a little bit more clear about how things should go in place instead of just showing them already being in place would be a very helpful thing, in my opinion. Like I said, though, I didn't really run into any issues here. It was just somewhat time-consuming of an assembly. But this rack has so many functions that I sort of expected that that would be the case going into it anyway. Now let's move on to the overall quality and specs of the equipment that RitFit Sports sent me, starting with the M1 multifunctional Smith machine. And the funny part is, in all my days, I never thought I'd be reviewing a Smith machine. I've used them on and off over the years for different things in my travels to many a commercial gym across the country, but by and large, I've honestly never really been a fan of them. You guys probably gathered that from some of my content. However, having access to one in my garage has gotten me to rethink things a little bit, as it has given me the opportunity to try out some different things that I never really otherwise would have gotten the chance to try. For example, hip thrusts on the Smith machine are freaking awesome. I kind of had an inkling that this would be the case because I've used hip thrust machines in different gyms, and I really love those. They have a little bit of a different feel from free weight hip thrusts, so you can kind of replicate that to a pretty good degree using the Smith machine. You can set them up as a deficit movement, which is one of my favorite things to do for hip thrusts just in general, get that max range of motion through the hips. But it is a very tedious and cumbersome process when you're using free weights because it's kind of hard to get set up underneath the bar when you add the deficit there. But with the Smith machine setup, you can actually rack the bar up a little bit higher, wedge yourself underneath of it really, really easily, and then you've got that awesome deficit to work through, that max range of motion through the hips. You're bypassing the most cumbersome aspect of doing the deficit hip thrust with a barbell, and then the movement itself just feels really, really great, at least on this particular Smith machine on the M1 rack from RitFit Sports. And yeah, the Smith system on this rack, it's really just super smooth in general. This particular exercise absolutely trashed my glutes, again, in a way that feels a little bit different from the free weight version of the hip thrust. Again, it's more similar to the hip thrust machines that you see in some gyms, and those actually can be hit or miss as well. I've run into some where they completely obstruct the range of motion that you're able to get. When they let you get that full range of motion, it's awesome. And that's something I'm replicating here with the Smith machine, which is pretty cool. Another movement that I've been loving on the Smith here is suitcase holds for my obliques. That's something I've done a lot of in the past, usually using farmer's implements. It works particularly well here with the Smith machine apparatus. I've also been enjoying the BTN press, behind the neck press as well. You guys know I love the BTN press in general. With this movement, it's just kind of a good way to get in some extra volume, not having to worry about the stability at all, and really just pushing real hard with the delts. So the Smith attachment here, it definitely adds some really nice and welcome versatility to my training and just to this M1 powerhouse of a rack. The rack itself is built really well. The Smith machine is built really well. It has a load capacity of 575 pounds. It has a safety system, so it's not just the fact that you can rack or unrack the bar itself, but you can also set up safety pins underneath of the Smith bar just to make sure that you don't get pinned, right? And that's a very important feature because I know that people have actually died this way by getting stuck between a Smith bar, not being able to escape from it. And then this system here, it just makes the work feel really smooth, makes it feel really nice. So far, I like it. I've been enjoying that versatility aspect that it has added to my training. But, and this is a very big but, this rack is much, much more than just a Smith machine. It's also a standalone power rack setup as well, along with a dual pulley system added on there for good measure. So the rack setup is very heavy duty. The max load capacity for the whole thing is 1,500 pounds. The safety arms and the J-hooks both have a load capacity of 575 pounds. The pull-up bar has a max load capacity of 465 pounds, which is far more than 99% of people are ever going to need. And then the pulley system has a max load capacity of 420 pounds per pulley. So that's pretty solid as well. The dip handles can hold 280 pounds per side, 560 pounds in total. That's pretty freaking substantial. So the thing is heavy duty, man. It's a full power rack setup, so you can do pretty much anything here that you want to do. Squats, bench presses, overhead work, pull-ups, dips, incline bench presses, any free weight movement that you can think of, right? I've done a whole bunch of stuff on it already, just a couple weeks into owning it. It's got a solid foot plate for heavy seated cable rows. The landmine attachment and the landmine row bar also come standard with all packages with this rack, as do the dip handles, and then a couple other attachments for pull downs and push downs and things of that nature as well. The pulley system is basically exactly the same as the ones that you find in most commercial gyms. The pulleys themselves can be adjusted from floor height to all the way up to the top of the rack, so you can use them for pretty much any cable movement you can think of. Curls, push downs, pull downs, pullovers, lateral or front raises, cable crossovers since it has that dual pulley setup. You can do heavy rows with it. I've already gotten in some really nice cable rows with some of those sweet attachment handles that they sent me. The pulley system itself feels very smooth during use, which is also always a really nice plus. A variety of available attachment handles also enhance the experience and versatility here. So they sent me a really quality double D handle, a rope handle, and then a whole set of neutral pull down handles. I got a wide neutral, a medium neutral, a close neutral, a super close neutral, and then a super close semi-neutral. And those handles are modeled after the mag grip handles that started getting really popular a few years ago. And that is basically the S tier pulley attachment, in my opinion. The rack also comes with band pegs for those of you who like using accommodating resistance, as well as abundant amounts of plate storage. Really important for your home gym setup. It has 6 plate storage handles on the backside of the rack, so your home gym is never going to be a mess of cluttered weight plates ever again. The band pegs, as well as the foot plate for the rows and the landmine attachment, are also all easily detachable and reattachable via these little quick clips that just pop right on and off. So that's also a nifty little feature, as sometimes these attachments can actually get in the way of something that you're trying to do. And in this case, if that happens, you can just take them right off the rack in 2 seconds. And another cool feature of the RitFit M1 Smith machine, and this is the first time that I have ever seen this on anything, is that the dip handles, you can actually adjust them by width. So, you know, we talk about dips as if it's this universal exercise, but the fact is it's not at all. Part of what turns that movement into a make or break thing for a lot of people is just simply how wide that the manufacturer decided to make the handles, right? Sometimes I run into ones that are just too wide for my build and they absolutely wreck my shoulders in that case. Or conversely, Sometimes they'll be built too narrow, and then they just feel really weak and awkward. But when the width is appropriate for my frame size and build, the movement clicks really, really well with me. And I'm sure this is the case for many of you as well. So the cool thing about this particular rack is that the dip attachment is designed to go on the back side, right? The back horizontal post rather than the upright framing, as is usually the case. And because of that, you are able to adjust the handle width in or out a few inches at a time as needed in order to find the optimal width for your build. That is really not something that you see every day, and I commend RitFit Sports for adding in this pretty sweet feature. So the M1 multifunctional Smith machine rack is pretty freaking awesome, man. It's pretty much an all-in-one home gym solution. The footprint is relatively compact considering all the stuff that you can do with it, pretty much anything you can think of in terms of strength training or hypertrophy training. It makes it easy to alternate back and forth between lots of different types of movements, whether you're using the pulley system, the Smith machine, or free weight exercises. And so with that, it also makes it very easy to accommodate multiple people working out simultaneously if that's a particular need that you have. The rack is solid, it's stable, it's got some really cool add-ons and features that you don't see elsewhere, and I've been getting in some awesome workouts with it lately. I'm really loving it so far. And finally, the adjustable bench that they sent me is really sweet as well. The weight capacity is 1,300 pounds, which is damn hefty. And in terms of how it feels during use, I would say it's pretty comparable to many of the adjustable benches that I have encountered in gyms over the years. It's really solid, it's really stable. It doesn't slip around while you're trying to use it, which is nice, and it feels very reliable. It's got wheels so that it's easy to maneuver. You can put it wherever you need to in your gym, very important in a home gym setting. It also has 4 different seat pad angles and then 10 different backrest positions, and I'm a big fan of this because something that I love doing is covering all my bases in terms of pressing angles, right? So with this bench, I can go up in 10-degree increments. It starts at -10, it can go flat, and then it goes 15, 25, 35, 45, 55, 65, all the way up to 85 degrees. So that's a pretty sweet feature, and I'm gonna make sure to use the heck out of that. All right, so now on to the pros and cons. And the pros with the M1 rack are myriad. We've pretty much covered all of them in depth already, but just to briefly recap. Pro number 1, the M1 rack is an all-in-one home gym solution. So it's got a power rack, it's got a Smith machine, and it's got a dual pulley system. So you can do pretty much any exercise that you can think of with this one single unit. Pro number 2, it is heavy duty, it's solid, it's stable, it's got a 1,500 pound max load capacity on the entire M1 unit, so the thing isn't going anywhere. Pro number 3, it lets you get in some super smooth work, right? The Smith machine and the pulley system both feel really smooth, helps you get in some clean work, makes it feel really productive without making it feel like it's straining your joints or anything feels janky or awkward while you're doing it. So that's always a really nice plus with this type of equipment. Pro number 4 is that it has abundant storage capacity. So there's 6 weight plate storage handles on the back of that M1 rack, and that's going to store pretty much all the plates in your home gym. Pro number 5 is that the machine has multiple add-ons, multiple different attachments, which really enhance its versatility. So you got dip handles, it's got a multi-grip pull-up bar with several different types of grips you can get on it. You can do basically neutral, you can do fully supinated, you can do fully pronated, you can adjust your width as well. It's got a landmine attachment, it's got band pegs, and it's got a foot plate for heavy cable rows. So these attachments, they really just enhance the versatility, they enhance the experience, they let you do bunches of different things that you otherwise wouldn't be able to do. Pro number 6 is that the M1 rack has adjustable dip handles. Like I said, I've never seen this anywhere else, but you can adjust the width of the dip handles. It's a unique, very helpful feature that's going to make this movement work well for multiple different body types rather than pigeonholing you into one single type of handle width. Now that we've recapped the pros, let's touch on some of the cons. So there's just a couple things I want to mention here, both of which are actually pretty easy fixes. And to RitFit's credit, they actually reached out to me on Instagram after I had posted a story of me using the M1 rack for the very first time. Specifically reached out to ask me if there were any adjustments that I think would be helpful for them to tweak on the rack as they move forward with their production of it. So I thought that was pretty cool, and I hope that they're going to take my feedback into consideration here as they continue to improve this product over time. That said, let's touch briefly on the cons that I've discovered so far. Con number one is that the dip handles are a little bit too low. They're too close to the ground. So that's the trade-off here, right? Since we've attached the dip handles to that horizontal post on the back side of the machine rather than the vertical uprights, right? Usually they're on the vertical uprights and then you can adjust the height. In this case, we're making a trade-off. We can't adjust the height. Instead, the height is fixed, and now we can adjust the width instead. And in this case, I think that the horizontal post should be a little bit higher off the ground, the one that we attach the dip handles to, because when I do dips on this machine, I have to keep my legs very folded, whereas I actually prefer to keep them straight. But I also have to make sure that the chain on my dipping belt is very short. Otherwise, the plates end up hitting the ground at the bottom of my reps. Now, I do dip deeper than most other people, but still, I shouldn't have to bunch the chain up in order to avoid having my plates hit the ground. So I'd like to see an adjustment that makes it to where you can set the dip handles a little bit higher off the floor. However they have to swing that, I don't know. I'm not an engineer, but I bet they can figure it out. And then con number two, and this one is actually a super easy fix, is that the safety arms are a little bit too short for my liking. Now, I actually mentioned in my last power rack review video that the safety arms on that rack were too short for my liking, and those safeties were 24 inches long. The safeties that they sent me on the M1 are significantly shorter than that, as they are just 12 inches long. So that's half the size of the ones that I already thought were too short. So that's just a bit too short to make me feel comfortable with all the different types of work that I want to do on this rack, as it's just too easy to miss the pins in that case, right? You can only get so close to the rack without having your bar be at risk of hitting the uprights while you're doing your work. But then on the flip side, if you move far enough away from the rack to gain sufficient clearance from it, then you run the risk of missing the safety pins in the event of a missed lift. So I'd like to see the length of those safety arms at a minimum doubled to 24 inches, but if possible, a little bit longer than that would also be perfectly fine with me. And that wraps it up for the pros and cons, guys. Like I said, lots of good stuff here, and then just a couple of things that I would like to see tweaked as the company improves the product moving forward, and I really hope they take my feedback into account here. Overall, I'm really happy with the M1 multifunctional Smith machine by RitFit Sports. It's well designed, it's sleek, it's heavy duty, and the Smith and Pulley systems both operate really smoothly as well. So there's lots of good stuff here, guys. The M1, along with the BWB01, the adjustable weight bench that they sent me, are both really solid, heavy duty products. I like the RitFit barbell. It feels really nice. It's got a good working feel to it for me, even though it's not the most heavy duty bar out there. And then the bumper plates are clean and high quality as well. So they're solid products, and so far my experience with RitFit Sports has been nothing but positive. So hey, if you're in the market for a new quality power rack or Smith machine, or you're just looking for an all-in-one piece of multifunctional equipment that reduces your overall home gym footprint, then be sure to check out RitFit Sports. I got a discount code for you in the description down below, and I think I'm going to go get my next workout in on the M1 right now. So that's all I got, guys. I hope you found this review helpful. If you did, please be sure to drop a like and a sub and share the video around with somebody who you think might also find it helpful. Check out EnkiriEliteFitness.com for all in coaching and training programs, and keep training hard. I will catch you guys next time.